What is up, guys? It's Football Take Slayer back here again to slay another terrible take from Mark Goldbridge. I was listening to him talk about the Rodrygo saga. You know, there's been discussions now for months if he's going to be going to Arsenal or if he's going to now, a newer saga, be going to Liverpool. And although I think Rodrygo is a serviceable player, I think there's now been narratives just created about Rodrygo that I'm truly not understanding. So in this first clip, you could hear him talking about Rodrygo and Luis Diaz. Listen in real quick.
Rodrygo is definitely surplus to requirements, and Liverpool could well be in the market for a winger if Luis Diaz pushes the move to Bayern Munich or Barcelona. So this would be an upgrade, in my opinion. I think he's a massively exciting player, and I think that the Mbappe signing at Real Madrid is sort of put a handbrake on his career, but I still think he's a fantastic player, and I think the Premier League would fit him like a glove.
See, the Rodrygo discourse has been a discourse lately in world football that has really been bothering me, and I feel like I need to discuss it now. I don't know where this crazy Rodrygo PR comes from, and I truly just am not understanding it. This is a player that has only scored double-digit goals in La Liga once in 6 seasons at La Liga. He has only scored double-digit goals once in 6 seasons at La Liga while being on Real Madrid, which is one of the 2 best teams in the league. You can argue if you're a Madridista that they're the best. If you're a Barcelona fan, you'll say they're second best. But you cannot argue that they're one of the 2 best teams in the league. In 90% of the games Real Madrid plays, they are heavy favorite. They dominate possession, and they create significantly more chances than the team they are playing against. Yet, Rodrygo can only score 10 goals once in 6 seasons. He can only hit double-digit goals in the league once in 6 seasons. I feel like that game against Manchester City in the Champions League, where he scored those 2 late goals to help Real Madrid advance, has done so much for his PR that it is now made it somehow reasonable to spend anywhere from, I'm seeing reports from anywhere from 70 to 90 million on a winger who can hardly crack double-digit goals while being on the best team in La Liga. He had the same amount of goals as Valverde last season in the league, and Valverde was playing right back half of the time. I already can hear it. Oh, but Rodrygo's playing out of position. He prefers the left wing, but he's playing the right wing. Well, Valverde prefers to be in the midfield, and he's playing right back, and he has just as many goal contributions as Rodrygo. He scored 6 goals just like Rodrygo. It is insanity to me. Rodrygo just scored 6 goals this past season, yet Mark Goldbridge is saying he'd be an upgrade on Luis Diaz. Look at this chart comparing Rodrygo, not even to Luis Diaz, because I don't even want to get into that yet. I'm going to compare him to Cody Gakpo. Rodrygo is hardly an upgrade when it comes to Gakpo, and Gakpo wasn't even starting a majority of the time. And now when you compare him to Luis Diaz, which he apparently is an upgrade, what is he better at? It's not non-penalty XG. It's not take-ons. It's not tracking back and tackles. Luis Diaz is better at all the aspects that is important to this Liverpool team. Liverpool highly depends on their 2 wingers, Salah and Diaz, being great at take-ons and then being able to have a high-level goal threat. Rodrygo isn't better at take-ons and certainly isn't a better goal threat. He just had 6 goals while Luis Diaz just came off a 13-goal season. How in the world can Mark Goldbridge say this is an upgrade to Luis Diaz? Please, somebody in the comments tell me maybe I'm just not understanding. Goldbridge also says in the clip that he thinks the Premier League will fit Rodrygo like a glove. Oh my God, when I heard that, I was in shambles. I didn't understand it at all. Please tell me how and why you have come to this conclusion. We are living in the same timeline that Victor Gyökeres, one of the most physically imposing players I've ever seen, is having questions raised about whether he could survive in the Prem, whether he can translate his physicality and his goal scoring from the Portuguese league over to the Prem. But Rodrygo, who could barely thrive in a less physically demanding La Liga, will somehow transition over to the Premier League, and it'll fit him just like a glove, guys. Don't worry. At this point, I legitimately think it's rage bait. I genuinely think it's rage bait. Because there is no world you could see Rodrygo, who honestly, at this point, isn't even producing as well as Cody Gakpo, who is backup left wing. Sometimes plays striker, but not really this season. He's been playing backup left wing to Luis Diaz. He's not even better than Cody Gakpo, but he's somehow an upgrade on Luis Diaz, who basically just had 20 goal contributions, 13 goals, is really hitting his stride. He's really getting comfortable in the Prem now. It took him 2 or 3 seasons. How could you say this would be an upgrade? How could you say, yeah, if Luis Diaz goes to Bayern, because there's links, it'll actually be an upgrade if you get Rodrygo? Yeah, the Rodrygo that just scored 6 goals compared to Luis Diaz's 13, the Rodrygo that isn't overly physical, yeah, he's going to fit the Prem just like a glove. And now I want to transition to this next clip as well, where he's just talking about Rodrygo and the timeline, and he compares him, he says he's the heir to the throne to Mohamed Salah. Please take a listen to this.
Think about that, but I think he would be absolutely brilliant for them. So good for them that actually you look at someone like Mo Salah, who isn't going to go on forever, and if you brought someone like Rodrygo in, then potentially you've got the heir to that throne in 2 or 3 years' time if it goes really well.
Okay, so that clip is one of the most outrageous clips I've ever heard in my entire life. I'm telling you, I genuinely think at certain moments in time, Mark Goldbridge is completely just rage baiting. We are now in a timeline where Rodrygo, the guy who just scored 6 goals in the league while playing for the best team in La Liga, is the heir to the throne to Mohamed Salah, who has been scoring 20-plus goals every Prem season for about 8 years now. And I can already see the comments. Well, Salah wasn't always producing goals. Remember him at Chelsea? Oh, do you remember him 10 years ago at Chelsea? I don't even know why people still do this argument. When he was at Chelsea, he was barely getting any minutes. He wasn't relied upon at all. And that's why they were able to just sell him to Roma without even a care in the world. But I could already see it. Oh, well, remember Salah at Chelsea and then he progressed. Yeah, I do. Again, he got no minutes, moved to Roma and scored 14 goals, and then the following season, 15 goals in the league before being purchased by Liverpool. He was already showing signs of progression in the goal-scoring department and was having double-digit goal seasons back-to-back in the Serie A, which a lot of people like to argue that is a seriously defensively sound league where most results are 0-0, 1-0. So you're going into a league where scoring isn't always the easiest, especially not compared to La Liga. La Liga, the goals fly in from every game. Every game is 3-4, 5-1, depending on who the level of opponent. So he's scoring double-digit goals in back-to-back seasons. He already showed the progression in the goal-scoring department, which is why it made sense for Liverpool to go and buy somebody that is showing that progression. Rodrygo, if you're genuinely being honest, if you're just looking at the numbers, even if you're just looking at him playing on the pitch for Brazil or for Real Madrid, he just showed regression. Where this year he scored 6 goals and the year before that he scored 10. That is called genuine regression. And I know a lot of football talk now is all about narratives and how people envision the player. Oh, no, Rodrygo, when I think of Rodrygo, I think of the 2 goals he scored against Manchester City, super clutch. He's the reason why they were able to advance and win it all. I agree. But you cannot take and think of only moments. These are very exceptional moments for Rodrygo, and now paint these very exceptional moments over the span of a season. The reality is he had a very, very high quality moment that most of us will never forget, but that doesn't mean he had a very, very high quality season. And that is what some people genuinely do not understand. Like, even when I think of the transfer to Arsenal, I respect it slightly just because of, them needing a little bit of depth and everything, but you're not signing a 90 million worth player for depth. So you're signing him hoping for him to be the real deal. But now I just instantly think, okay, Rodrygo to Arsenal, I think of Martinelli. They play the same position. Martinelli also had that one season where he scored 15 goals. And he was talked about like he was the next biggest thing in football. I still remember Jurgen Klopp talking about how Gabriel Martinelli's top level, and he's going straight to the top. I still remember that press conference. And he scored 15 goals, and since then, he's followed up with 6 goals and 8 goals. Not great, not terrible, but that's not what you want if you're on a team like Arsenal, your left wing that's starting week in and week out to be providing. People are calling for his head, and they're genuinely talking about his regression. But then how are you not doing the same for Rodrygo? They are the same age. Martinelli and Rodrygo are both 24. They're both about to start hitting their prime in the next 2 to 3 years. I don't understand how you can genuinely look at Martinelli and say he's regressed, which for the most part he definitely has, especially in terms of output. He's never changed his style of play. He's always going to run at the defender. He's always going to provide the width. He's always going to try and cut it on his right foot and score. But every Arsenal fan and most Prem fans are very willing to look at him and say, yeah, he's regressed. But they're not somehow able to do the same thing with Rodrygo. And actually, no, Rodrygo is the savior. Rodrygo is going to be the heir to the Mohamed Salah throne. So let me get this straight. Martinelli should go to Saudi and is past it and has showed regression. He went from 15 goals in the Prem, which isn't easy, to 6 goals to 8 goals. But Rodrygo, who scored 10 goals and now scored 6, and the year before the 10 goals, I think he scored like 5 on Real Madrid in an easier to compete league. He is somehow the heir to the Salah throne. Okay, yeah, thanks. Thanks, Mark Goldbridge. That really makes sense to me. Thanks, guys.